Dear and respected Reverend Father Stanislas D'Souza, the President of South Asian Jesuit Conference, Honorable Chief Guest Justice Chandru, respected Chairperson Professor Bernardi Sami, and the moderator Ms. Tara Rao, fathers and sisters, NGO partners, our beloved ISI family members, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good evening and warm welcome to this Volken-Stan Memorial Lecture. Father Henry Volken S.J. founded the Indian Social Institute, Bengaluru in 1963 and headed the institute for 12 years, giving it a definite perspective, mission and vision to make it an institute nationally and internationally known for training, research and knowledge development. In 1975, he was appointed as the Secretary of Social Action Ministry of the Society of Jesus in Rome. During his tenure, he had represented many times the NGO Committee for Development at United Nations and worked as consultant of Pontifical Council of Vatican. He was a great writer and trainer. Father Stan Swami, an Adivasi and human rights activist, succeeded Volken and was the second director of the institute from 1975 to 1986. During his tenure, the institute trained a large number of youth, lay collaborators, religious, and diocesians on social analysis, using scientific tools of analysis, adhering to spirit of the pedagogy of the oppressed. At the beginning of the millennium, Stan set up Bagaja, a research and training center in Namkum, Ranchi, as a nodal center for the Adivasis. He campaigned and advocated for better implementation of the 5th schedule of the Constitution.
It is our duty to invoke God's blessings before we begin any program or event. Hence, let us begin this evening with prayer song led by St. Aloysius College Choir, Bangalore. devotional singing to feel the presence of God amidst us. I request the dignitaries to come on to the stage. As they come on, I also request them to light the lamp to feel the presence of the Almighty God and also the spirits of Father Volken and Father Stan Swami who shaped this institute. Thank you very much. I request them to occupy the chair on the dais. I now call upon Reverend Father Anthony Das S.J., the Vice President of Indian Social Institute, to welcome the gathering.
Dear friends, as we celebrate the stories of Father Stan Swami and Volken, I have a mixed feelings. It is both despair and hope. Despair because of what is happening in Manipur, and hope because what happened yesterday. Supreme Court granted bail to Vernon Gonzalez and Arun Ferreira. Satyameva Jayate, the spirit of Mandukya Upanishad still alive. We are blessed with esteemed presence of Stanislas D'Souza, the President of South Asian Jesuit Conference. He is known for his leadership, is a constant support and inspiration to our institute. We are blessed with his graceful presence. His exemplary leadership is a source of inspiration to all of us. He is a constant pillar of support for our institute. A warm welcome for the Stanley. You can give a clap, he is there among us. Among us today, we have distinguished presence of Justice K. Chandru, who has disposed over 96,000 cases in 10 years, a record time. His judgments have left deep impact on the lives of many downtrodden people. His famous order to release a person from Irula community was the sole inspiration for the movie Jai Bhim. We extend a hearty welcome to you, sir. Jai Bhim. We are pleased to have Dr. Bernard D. Swami with us today. He is the former head of the History Department at Loyola College, Chennai. He is well known as a media commentator for political and international news. Additionally, he serves as a PhD guide. A hearty welcome to you, Dr. Bernard. We are honored to have Ms. Tara Rao, a prominent campaigner for Edu Karnataka. She has 35 years of experience as an advocate, facilitator, and campaigner. She has dedicated her service to the field of climate justice, rural development, and corporate social responsibility. A heartfelt welcome to you, madam. My deep appreciation goes to Dr. Selvaraj, our esteemed director of the institute, Dr. Selvi, Father Balaraj, Father Siju, all the staff members, supporting staff for meticulously planning and executing this program. A warm and hearty welcome to fathers, sisters, partners, friends, and well-wishers. Your presence is deeply appreciated. I am certain that you will find a great value in this lecture. Once again, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you. Since justice is among us, I just remembered a joke. It seems a lawyer was winning the case every time. And other lawyers got envious about him. And one fellow came, see, we worked so hard. How is that every time you win the case? And the lawyer said, you know the law, I know the judge.
Thank you, dear Father Anthony Das, for extending a warm welcome to the gathering. I now call on Father Dr. Selvaraj Arulnaran, the Director of the Institute, to honor our Honorable Justice K. Chandru with a shawl and memento, and Miss Ammu to present the gift. May I call on Father Anthony Das to honor the chairperson, Dr. Bernard Swami, with a shawl and memento, and Miss Maria to present the gift. I request Father Dr. Selvin Raj to honor Miss Tara Rao with a shawl and memento, and Miss Frida to present the gift.
Thank you all for honoring our guest. This is a very special year in the history of ISI Bangalore. The institute celebrates its Diamond Jubilee. We are proudly and with nostalgia called the gleaming of yesteryears of ISI. Hence, I request Father Dr. Selvaraj Arulnathan, the director, to introduce the Jubilee Memorial Lecture.
Dear and Reverend Father Stanislas D'Souza, the President of South Asian Jesuit Conference, highly esteemed guests on the dais, dear sisters, brothers and fathers, my dear NGO friends, our dear friends and well-wishers, my beloved ISI family members, ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good evening. I am really happy and proud to introduce to you all this Diamond Jubilee Year Memorial Lecture, which is an important event organized by Indian Social Institute, Bangalore. And I would like to also make a special note. I was very privileged to be here, part of ISI family, when ISI celebrated the Golden Jubilee. Now I stand here when we celebrate the Diamond Jubilee. Till the year last before, this annual event was known only as Henry Volken Memorial Lecture. But from last year onwards, it is called Henry Volken-Stan Swami Memorial Lecture. Father Henry Volken was the founder of this institute and served as its first director for 12 long years, shaping up this place both in its physical beauty and its ideological luster. Hence, it is very fitting to call this as Volken Memorial Lecture. Most of you know the association of Father Stan Swami with ISI Bangalore. He worked for nearly 19 years at this institute before he went to Namkum, Ranchi, the outskirts of Ranchi, and started the social research center called Bagaicha, where he was till he was assassinated as the political prisoner. This institute was also very much shaped by the ideological construct of Father Stan Swami, and hence it's only natural for us to name this annual event as Henry Volken-Stan Swami Memorial Lecture. A little bit of history is necessary to understand and capture the spirit of these two doyens in the field of social action and social transformation mission of the Society of Jesus. Indian Social Institute Bangalore is in the portals of its Diamond Jubilee year, a celebration of a journey that began in 1963 with the mission of accompanying the marginalized as an extension center of Indian Social Institute, New Delhi. In 1961, Father Jim Barner and Mr. Ryan had started the work of the extension service of ISI Delhi with a view to support the diocesan development activities which had just taken off in a very big way in most of the dioceses. Lack of trained personnel in the developmental sector persuaded the Jesuits of India to initiate a training center. It was in 1963, with the arrival of Father Henry Volken, the dream came true. The extension service was shifted to Delhi in 66, but ISI Bangalore began its journey as a training center responding to the massive challenges and changes in the developmental sector. Initial focus of the training center was on community building among the poor, skill courses on agriculture, kitchen gardens, poultry and nutrition, and accountancy. The community developed approach of the Government of India added fervor to the efforts of ISIB, constantly study of the changing environment and a reflection on the changes made the team of ISI alert to creative ways of conceiving programs and training activities. In the 70s, the power of rain philosophy and methodology dominated the training of ISI Bangalore. Thus, from the development of discourse, ISIB changed its face into social liberation focus. The early focus of ISI, soon after the emergence in 1975, and in the context of the Asian Seminar on Structural Analysis, organized by Hutta at the same campus and others, there was a radical shift in understanding of development works. The economic crisis and the political developments had brought home the fact that the massive poverty of the Indian people had deep roots in the politics of the country and that the solution had to be of a political nature. Father Chandru, who was known those days as his original name, took charge of the institute as Father Volken moved out and began an intensive period of training social activists for political intervention through courses ranging from 3 months to shorter periods. The participants were activists with grassroots contact, deeply conscious of the political dimension of poverty and the need for a structural change. Meanwhile, the Documentation Center of Indian Social Institute Bangalore had also started functioning from here, giving a massive intellectual input to the activists of all over the world, all over India. In 1993, ISIB became an independent institute. Since then, it has geared its activities, programs based on 3 interrelated objectives: to align with the marginalized people for facilitating their empowerment, to network with the sectoral, structural, and secular democratic movements, and to collaborate with the macro social forces. In 1991, became another game changer with the introduction of the new economic policy. There is a close connection between NEP of the 1991 and the National Education Policy NEP of 2020. Both of them have been introduced to destroy the people in the margins. The constitutional vision of empowering the powerless towards a sustainable development became a far-fetched dream in the wake of the market-ushered in economic order of 1991, built upon 3 economic monsters: privatization, liberalization, and globalization, which adversely affected the worker classes, the Dalits, and the Adivasis, women and children, and also caused a destruction to the economic systems. ISIB very quickly captured the trend and developed this as its dominant view of social and political engagements. The emergence of ultra-right-wing fundamental forces with a communal agenda, operating covertly and overtly, co-opting the marginalized sections, has been posing a great threat to the secular and inclusive social fabric of the nation. ISIB has been trying to develop a critical awareness of these realities among the trainees and staff, and thus enabling them to strengthen the constitutional goals of socialism, secularism, and democracy. The 2 people who were at the forefront of all these changes, and even after their tenure at ISIB, they continue to inspire and impact upon the vision, mission, and the goals of this institute. They are Father Henry Volken and Father Stan Swami, who were formerly known, who were the former directors and the trainers of ISI Bangalore. It is in their name that this memorial lecture is organized. These 2 continue to be the pillars of ISIB even after they disappear from this earth. Their memory, their impact, their spirit still hover over the institute as the guardian angels guiding all those who enter the portals of ISI Bangalore. We are proud of them, we are guided by them, and their stout memory will linger on this campus as long as this institute exists. I welcome all of you for this Volken-Stan Swami Memorial Lecture and continue to support ISI Bangalore and be part of our collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Father, for walking us in the diamond steps of ISI. I call upon Father Francis Balraj, Head of Social Inclusion and Democracy Unit, to introduce our moderator, Ms. Tara Rao, and hand over the dais to her, who will introduce the guest speaker and the chairperson. Welcome, Father Francis.
Good evening, friends. I'm very much happy to introduce Ms. Tara Rao, whom I came in acquaintance with her recently with my involvement for Eddelu, Karnataka. I'm sure you all know how this Eddelu, Karnataka, the committed civil society, conscientized the citizens of this state in terms of political democracy. And today we can see the effect or the change in our governance in our state. Ms. Tara Rao, a leading campaigner for Eddelu, Karnataka, she has very much freely accepted, happily accepted to be the moderator for the Volken-Stan Swami Memorial Lecture 2023. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt thanks to her and for accepting to be the moderator today. Ms. Tara Rao is the apt person for the lecture today. The topic that we have chosen is Role of Civil Society for a Vibrant Political Democracy. As she has involved herself actively for Eddelu, Karnataka, she will be able to share her insights along with the chief guest and the chairperson along with their thoughts. Ms. Tara Rao has the experience of 35 years as a mentor, advocate, facilitator and designer in the areas of environmental governance, climate justice and human rights. She is committed to diversity in active participation and leadership for the transformation of the society. She studied and worked as an architect, but later she moved to studies in gender analysis and environmental management degree. Responding to climate crisis is a passion, and she has worked for International Amnesty. So let's give a big hand to Ms. Tara Rao and warmly welcome her. Over to you, ma'am. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is truly a momentous marking of two very inspiring lives, who both together built the foundation and created the conditions for an institution like this that we experience today. I have gone through those gates quite a few times before Eddelu, Karnataka. It's a bit of a home, isn't it? And to think that the history of this began with two inspiring men way back when is quite nice to know that there's a long history to it. They very critically ensured contributing this institution's voice to broad-based social justice in the spirit of the Constitution and its values. That is important, and even more important today. Standing here, I believe events like the one today that see us all gathered here are important markers and act as a compass to orient us as a people and a society towards our values and our collective existence. Yes, our collective existence, which is really challenged today. The collective side seems to be crumbling, and we seem to be standing back, watching it crumble. This is becoming an increasing challenge. Looking back, although we fought for our freedom tirelessly, bravely, but remember, we were handed our democracy for free. Today, we have to defend it, uphold it, and sustain it. Civil society needs a new civic space. A new civic space that is teeming with an active citizenry. Gone are the days when we were reminded of our citizenship when we stood in the queue to vote on election day, or we showed up for a demonstration. That was the extent, possibly, for most of us, or at least some of us, to show our citizenship. Now, each one of us needs to be part of this active citizenry that stands as the guardian of our democratic state. A democratic state that functions between election days, not on election day. And while we as the active citizenry hold it to account from a reimagined, reconstituted civic space. Imagine yourselves, imagine all of us in that reconstituted civic space that provides space for true civil society to thrive. We, the people, primarily occupy this civic space to ensure we, the people, can enjoy and celebrate our democracy and ward against, and often so even now, much more, the forces that work counter to our values and the institutions that are so essential and dear to us. We only need to look at more recent events of our very own Karnataka state elections to know that the people of this state demonstrated that collective, coordinated action from within the civic space was what can pay rich dividends. Today we have over 150 teams and active citizenry at the grassroots level, organized as volunteer teams on the ground among their respective communities. Remember, this is not some other team imported into communities. These are teams, these are people, these are groups of people who decide they want to be volunteers and active as citizens within their community. That is the quality of active citizenry we are talking about. That is what will be required of us here forward. They train their eyes on their next milestone, a very critical one, as we all know, next year. But this is just the beginning. The role, though, of civil society for a vibrant democracy truly remains unshakable. It ensures an accountable, responsive, inclusive, effective, and thereby a more legitimate government. Remember, we give it that legitimacy. It does not stand there without our legitimacy. A vigorous civil society strengthens active citizenry towards constructing greater trust and confidence, and thereby respect for the state. We, as the active citizenry, need to work in a coordinated and vigorous manner to ensure that respect is restored in the state, that is held accountable to act in the interests of its people equitably. That is a vibrant democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, a true democratic groundswell awaits us. We have to step up to it. With this, I, with great pleasure, would like to introduce Justice Krishnaswamy Chandru, delivering this year's Henry Volken-Stan Swamy Memorial Lecture, which addresses the role of civil society for a vibrant political democracy. It is significant for the times we live in that we have Justice Chandru as our speaker, whose life story as an advocate began in 1976. Starting out as an advocate, later as a senior advocate, member of the Tamil Nadu Bar Council, and an office bearer of the Madras High Court Advocates Association, has seen him over the years appearing for several cases, as we heard, 96,000, to defend human rights and freedom of the press, and consistently championing the cause of the underprivileged, be it a worker, woman, child, Dalit, or a political prisoner. As a judge of Madras High Court between 2006 and 13, he has not only adjudicated and kept the peace in his courtroom over those years, but post-retirement has performed his duty as a member of the active citizenry, an essential element of life as we know it today. The Justice has built a presence through his lectures at several law schools in the country. These include the National Judicial Academy at Bhopal, the Tamil Nadu Judicial Academy, the Judicial Academy in Delhi, Chandigarh, and the National Law School in Nagpur. Justice Chandru's pen has not remained idle at the same time. He has authored several books in Tamil and English. He continues to write for various newspapers in English and Tamil on topics related to law and the judiciary. Among his various books, My Judgment in the Light of Ambedkar, written in Tamil and also published in English and Malayalam, relates to the issues of caste and religion dealt with by him as a judge. These issues are very today too. He authored a book, Listen to My Case, that deals with his cases relating to gender issues, brought out in English, Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, and Hindi. His latest book, I Too Became a Judge, in Tamil and Malayalam, is a biography and is tryst with human rights cases for 45 years. Think back, were some of you even born then? Justice Chandru's influence has even touched the silver screen, as we just heard. One case conducted by him dealing with the human rights of an Adivasi family tortured in police lockup became the subject matter of a film, Jai Bhim, in which the protagonist lawyer was also named as Lawyer Chandru. The film has won many awards and has been released in 5 languages. Precious words, action and impact, all bound in one life. Justice Chandru is the recipient of the Ambedkar Award instituted by the government of Tamil Nadu. Presently, he is appointed as a one-man committee by the Tamil Nadu government to go into the workings of juvenile homes in Tamil Nadu relating to the child in conflict with the law. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Justice Krishnaswamy Chandru.
Good evening to all of you. Before I go to the topic, role of civil society in a vibrant political democracy, I also want to say a few things about Father Stan Swami. And in fact, he has written a small booklet also which you can read. And Father Stan Swami, coming from Ariyalur, Tamil Nadu, after his theological work, came here and worked for 17 years. In the small booklet, he has mentioned one episode. Some of the students who are here used to ask questions in a lecture, and then one of the questions that was posed to him was, they told, Father, you please tell us more about communism. And Father, in his own modesty, writes in the book, frankly speaking, I don't know anything about communism. So I went back to my room and started getting some literature and started reading about communism, what is it all mean about. And then he says, I find after some time there is no difference between communism and Christianity. This is what he has said. He has also said, I am bored with confined to the rooms, classroom lectures, and interacting with you from all over. I need to work in the field. That's a true work that we can never do. When he shifted to Jharkhand, and you know the work he did in Jharkhand, more of a spiritual rather than awakening the people of Jharkhand who happen to be the Adivasis of this country. And then he also writes in his book, all that I told the youth was that don't give up your land, don't give up your water sources. At all costs you should maintain this. This is not something new. In fact, in our constitution, there are specific provisions have been made under Article 244, 132, where there is a 5th schedule and 6th schedule. It gives an important right to the Adivasi people of this country that with reference to sale of their land, there is a total restriction. There is also a restriction on taking over their natural resources. There is also a restriction in interfering with their culture, with their social practices. With all this, a constitutional framework, there is nothing new which Father told his youth. But then in our country, telling the truth is also difficult. It also lands you in trouble. And Father has been arrested in a case totally unconnected to the case, which is known as the BK16. BK 16. Now it's not 16. With Father's exit, it became 15. Now, most important thing is that we were arrested for what reason? Has it been told? Now it's going to be 5 years. Has anybody knew why Father was arrested? He put up a brave fight despite his physical disabilities. But then he has been denied bail, he has been denied medical treatment, he has been denied what is a prisoner in this country is entitled to under the notorious Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. If you do lawful things, that is branded as unlawful activity in this country, and then it's a most draconian law after Pota and Tala. It does not have a clean bail provision, it does not have a proper trial, it does not have an outer time limit for filing charge sheet, and therefore we find 16 people still languishing in jail without being told why they are in jail. Because the Act does not say within this time limit you should file a charge sheet. There are endless investigations still go on. Now, all that Father during his prison term in Mumbai, due to his Parkinson's disease, he could not hold a glass of water. So he told the prison officers, please give me a straw, a sipper. Now, it's a very thing. You go to any juice shop, they give it to you free of cost. Nobody charges money for that. But then the prison officials, as they have been molded from the British time, they looked into and said there are no rules for providing a sipper, which is a worthless thing to be given. Now, Father went to the court. not for his release, not for bail, not for quashing the charge sheet, that I am a sick man, I need this zipper. Now, after a lot of haggling, finally they were present to give him a zipper. By the time huge carton loads of zipper were accumulated in the jail premises, and then we find that this system, it does not punish people just like that. It does not incarcerate people just because they want to incarcerate them and then give them the due punishment. They punish you for different reasons. They punish you because you stand for the people. They want to separate you from the people. They want to tell you that you cannot tell what is correct to the people. And therefore, this lesson that you deny him a zipper and they continue to deny him any medical facility. Finally, Father left us. From that day onwards, from the demise of Father, wherever I go, I travel from Kanyakumari to Kashmir in many campuses, I have addressed meetings. I always carry a zipper with me. I always tell the audience, what is this? This is a symbol. This symbol, they always say, is a straw. I always say, it is the last straw on the ruling party today. That's the most important thing that you must understand. That this system isolates people who work for the people. Put them in a separate place and blame them. Tell them all kinds of things against them, but never come out with the truth. Now all these 15 people, less Father, BK 15, how many have got bail in the last 5 years? 5 people got bail. Is not the rule of this country that bail is the rule, jail is the exception. But then they still keep them under some law, unlawful activity. We want to tell them what is the unlawful activity. Please tell us. And then 3 people got bail on different reasons, not on merits of the case. One person got bail because a wrong special judge remanded that lady, Sudha Bharadwaj. She was a MIT graduate, working for trade unions in Rajasthan. And she was denied bail. And she was granted bail on a technical reason. And Navlaka has been under house arrest. Only 2 people got bail on merits. If you see in today's Times of India, the headline, 2 people were given bail. Many of us just read the paper and go off, bail granted. You must read that news. 2 judges of the Supreme Court, Justice Anirudh Bose and Sudhanshu Dhulia, both coming from the eastern part of this country, took pains to explain there is no iota of truth on this detention of these 2 people. Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Ferreira. 2 people have been there for 5 years without being told what they have been inside for. Without being denied bail from trial court, high court and Supreme Court. And Supreme Court granted bail. Does it take 5 years for a person to get bail in this country? When you talk about polity, you should talk about the wider range of the polity in this country. Is there a rule of law? Is there a law by which people are governed by certain set of rules which also passes certain international standard? If you think that that is not correct, then you should reject this polity. The role of a civil society only starts from there. I don't want to give a long lecture on what is the role of civil society, but before I talk about this civil society, there is one person by name Lamalaka who is also arrested. He is from Delhi. He has been asked to stay in a house in Mumbai, a rented place. How long? Nobody knows. How long the trial will go? While he was in jail, he asked his people, I want to read books, and the jail library does not have a good set of books. Please allow my family to supply books where I will read. Nobody can deny you supply of books. And then the family gave some 23 books. And the jail official went through all the books. They passed 22 books and gave it to him. One book was not given to him. You will be surprised. That was a novel by P.G. Woodhouse. It was just a light novel, light reading. But the jail official thought something sedimentary, something seditious about the book. So again the matter went to court. Then the court asked why you have not given Woodhouse book, anybody would have read Woodhouse. In the 70s and all, many of us used to read for the first time. The jail official said, we thought it may be incarcerated. The judges were shocked, and finally they said, give the book. Now, do you mean to say for getting a zipper, getting a novel, a light novel, you must go to court on every time? This is the paradox that we have in this country. You know that some other people ran away from this country. They are all hiding in United Kingdom. One of them is Nirav Modi. Now Nirav Modi was sought to be transferred back. You know charges against Malaya, Nirav Modi and whole set of people. They have swindled so much money from public institutions. They are all there in UK, happily living in luxurious style. And then the government filed an application that they should be sent back to India. First question raised in UK was that the Indian jails are very bad. It does not commensurate with the human rights standard. A magistrate in the London court, he said, ordered notice to the government to find out what is the position of the government. And then our government took pains to explain, this is the arrangement, this is the arrangement that we have in our cell. Everything is perfect, there are rules. Simple question is that this prison system was conceived by them. Some of them are 150 years old. When a prisoner is put there, what kind of a standard that you should adopt, adopted by them. A magistrate in a London court asked, how is that Indian jail? And then Nirav Modi and Malaya wants to contest, we can't go to Indian jail. When that is the situation, we find hundreds of youth in this country are being detained under some law and some detention provisions. Does anybody ask in this country what kind of a jail that you are having? Does it speak well of these people to know? Even today some youth came and met me that how some people are unjustly kept in jail. Now therefore, when it comes to Father Swami, we must learn one lesson, that he is one man, selfless. He is one man in pursuit of truth. He is one man in pursuit of love. Love for the people of this country. And then after 33 years of service to a Jharkhand youth, he has gone to jail and passed away. Now there are others, nobody knows what is the reason. Even today there is no reason. Now we are all happy about one thing, that our provisions are coming, our rations are coming, our life is better. We never concern what is happening in this country. If you do not question some of these basic premises, now the Supreme Court writes, having gone through the charge sheet, we find there is not a single prima facie reason for these people to be detained. For 5 years, not 1 day or 2 days, 5 years somebody can be detained. Some of the finest thinking minds of this country. And they can be detained and then nobody will ever speak about them. The reason is, they are detained under the unlawful activities. The moment you name something, then it becomes the name for themselves itself. And therefore, others are looking to the different direction. And therefore, the ruling party is able to get away with any kind of action in this country. That is what is happening in Manipur. I am not converting this into a political state, but one thing you must realize, Manipur is not mere politics. Manipur is the future India, how India is going to be governed. Therefore, let me come to the topic. The topic is today, role of a society in a vibrant democracy. The role of a civil society has been proved in Karnataka. One fascist party was thrown out in the last election. That is the role of the civil society. What is a vibrant political democracy? Maybe that establishes a democracy. Is it vibrant? I think it will become vibrant if you also throw them out on an all-India basis. Then it becomes the role that the civil society plays. Everybody in this country has a vote and one vote, and they can also decide what should be the future of this country. It is in this background, let me talk to you on this issue. First question is, on the question of rule of law. For any vibrant democracy, there must be a rule of law. You have a set of rules. The rules first you evolve. In even ordinary sports, there are rules. A cricket match is a rule. In fact, last year, there was a match between England and Australia. All our youth were completely glued to the TVs just to watch the IPL match, the international cricket match, Premier League. Now, midnight, the match did not end in any result. It was a tie. Suddenly, the English team came up with a new rule under which some extra overs were given. And finally, it was declared England became the winner. Nobody could let it be there, it's only a sport. Thereafter, we must see our youth, all over the world must be, but I'm talking about India, they were Googling to find out what is this rule, why there is a change of rule, is it proper to change the rule at the end of the game? If people can discuss so intensely a change of rule after the start of the game, is it open to a government which is governed by rule of law, governed by a written constitution, to change the rules of game? That is the important issue that we are talking about. More than the sport, today we are living in a life of democracy. Can a party which comes to power after taking a sworn oath under the constitution, can it change? We are seeing so many changes being made, and we do not think that we are concerned with this. Is the only issue concerning the lawyers or the courts. We file a case and the court will decide. Is it not a matter where every citizen of this country has a say in this matter? In the last 5 years, you will look at the major issues that came into court. You look at the issues which went to the court. Has the court decided the issue or not decided the issue? There is another issue. It is not within our province to make the court to realize or the court to make the decision. But one thing is important. Is it within our province to discuss and take a stand? It need not be decided all the time by the court. And in that sense, the court has to decide certain matters which they are able to decide. Whether it is a special status for Jammu and Kashmir, whether an amendment to the Constitution, citizenship amendment, or any issue for that matter. Why is that certain important issues decided by the ruling government is not able to be decided in court? And why is that we are not discussing those issues in public? This is most important because ultimately if you allow the rules of game to be changed after the match began, then there is it's not a fair game at all. It's a foul game. And then will you allow a foul game to take place in this country? That's the most important. There are new issues also coming up like uniform civil code and other things that we have seen. One after the other, new matters are coming up. And not every case should go to the court, and we should decide to elect or select a party or a government which will decide and to play the game in a fair manner. Otherwise, there is no democracy. Otherwise, there can never be a vibrant democracy. Otherwise, the role of civil society gets defeated. In that sense, we will have to think of today's topic. And I will only say, apart from the criminal law, which we began this today issue, the issue is something more complex. What an individual in this society can do is a major issue. One is looking towards Father Swami and then see that kind of a sacrifice, that kind of a identification with the common people, and that kind of service. Everybody may not be able to do that, but everybody can do one thing, play the role of a proper citizen of this country. And the citizen has got a right not only to select his own government, but also to see that the rules are not changed for the benefit of certain few individuals or the benefit of certain sections of the people. It is in that sense, we have two important factors: who is going to govern us, and then what kind of a judiciary that we are going to have in future, which will decide the destiny of this country when the rules are played differently. These are the two issues I feel which are necessary for a vibrant democracy. One is the judicial review, second is the political governance. If these two issues we should concentrate more, there is a connect between the two issues. One, that is the Constitution of India. Now I am talking about the Constitution of India is very important because it's not something we can just say let the court will decide. The Constitution of India is a more vibrant, organic document that has been given to us, and it has been growing from strength to strength. It's not as if it's an immutable document, it's a scripture. It has been amended, 103 times it has been amended. Amended for good, bad or ugly, any other reason, but it has been amended. In our subcontinent, in the last 72 years, we find the constitution which works is only in India and not any other place. There have been problems in other countries in the subcontinent. But we can be proud to say one thing, that we are able to govern with a written constitution, working for several years, several decades, at the same time amenable to certain adjustment. Now in this context, if you see backwards, the constitution, whenever it is sought to be tampered with, whenever it is sought to be derailed, we have only negative things in our life. Our emergency is a classic example of 75, 77. And now we feel there is an undeclared emergency. In the 1975, there was a declared emergency. People were told, these are all your rights. Your fundamental rights cannot be enforced. There are people who also criticize all these things that many of you would not have born during emergency, but then let me not go back. What is an emergency? That you have a set of rules, you now say these rules will not apply to you. You have a set of fundamental rights, we can't enforce this in court. Then what is that we enforce? You just go by our dictates, that's all. This is the more serious situation that we feel, that I can arrest somebody, nobody can question. The court also will be keeping quiet. I can do this, or I can do that. I need not take anybody's advice on this matter. Nobody will question me because I am elected forever. Therefore, you will find more and more a situation where the judicial review and political governance get confused. And then the result is, the more draconian measures are being taken, more anti-people measures are being taken, more black legislation are being enacted, and then we continue to behave as if nothing has happened. Now this is the question, that the people questioning the state, people have a power to question for the realization, and then the people actually question these issues in a particular manner. That's the most important thing. And this you will find one by one. And first thing came was Jammu and Kashmir. Don't think there's not no connect with us. There's a special status given. We will withdraw the special status. We will make it into 2 union territories. A state which has been annexed, which has been instrument of accession, which has been guaranteed a special status. Now it's all gone. All right, Kashmir is gone. It's become 2 union territories. Elections will be held and we don't know when it will be held. Now you find the similar situation that we have several scheduled areas and scheduled tribes are allowed to have autonomy in this country. There are several articles in our constitution. You will find 244, 50 schedule, 6 schedule, 371A, 371G, Nagaland, Mizoram. They are all having special status. Certain rights have been confirmed. Even when Panchayat Raj was introduced in our constitution, under the 73rd and 74th Amendment, there has been exemption given to these tribal states. Extension of Panchayat Raj, extension of Act is being passed by the Parliament because we would like to preserve the autonomy given to these regions. The autonomy includes several rights for those people. One of the crucial was their social custom, their property, their marriage rights, their customary practice have been preserved. It is only to showcase that we have certain areas are governed in a more autonomous form, in a constitutionally guaranteed manner. In fact, some of these areas, our own normal laws will not apply. It is their own traditional laws will apply, and the councils will administer those laws and not the laws which we are concerned with in some of the British Indian states. Now, if we in this condition, suddenly somebody says, we will have a uniform civil code. Now, uniform civil code, many people understand. That's good. Everybody should have a common law. Nobody says that. Everybody should be in common law. All right, let that be common. What about this constitutional provision which guarantees certain autonomous powers to the district councils, to the state, regional councils of the tribal land? You will rewrite the constitution. You will say that you will have no more autonomy. Now, this is something very important. That we always think it is only meant against minorities. Not only minorities. It's also directed against the Adivasis of this country. Many people think minorities will be affected. That's another issue. More than that, constitutionally guaranteed rights to the tribal people will be denied. Now, how many of us are looking into the constitution? How many of us are taking trouble to understand what is the constitutional provision with reference to their autonomy? What happened to Kashmir can happen to any other state in this country. All that it requires some law to be passed. And they have a brute majority. or even at least they can throw out people and then still park others. Now that is what most important, that today we are governed by certain set of facts, certain set of rules which we have given to ourselves. Now this constitutional guarantee, if it is going to be taken away by some other. Now you take the case of Uniform Civil Code. In 2018, the Law Commission was asked to examine this. And Justice Chandru said, we don't need a common civil code at all. Now Law Commission says so. Then somebody files a case, a BJP lawyer files a case, Ashwini Upadhyay, you bring common civil code. Supreme Court said that's not our job. Secondly, we can never give direction to the Parliament. Now, in 2018, 2021, these are the issues. And suddenly somebody comes with an idea, we must have a uniform civil code. Let the new Law Commission say what they want to say. Now, these are not gimmicks. These are all essential dangers that we are going to face. That an issue which we can never consider as foreclosed, an issue which we can never consider as completely over. Every issue is now repeated for some other reason. Maybe with the elections coming next year, or maybe with the idea of civil service. Now a state is on the burden. Two communities are burning. There have been death, there have been mayhem, there have been atrocities and violence against women. And the Prime Minister of India is just keeping silent. Now, what is the role of a civil society in this matter? Will you not write a letter to the Prime Minister why you are keeping silent? What is your position in this matter? You are having time to go all over the world, and you have no time for our own country. Now, this is something again and again, but it is one issue that what is the constitutional function of the higher governmental functions? What is the constitution? If you don't function within the four corners of law, now what is the functioning that you are going to have as a Prime Minister or a President or a Vice President or two parliaments, all that? That is where the society interest comes in. And then I will only say one thing, very proud to say this. We are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of a judgment. You must have heard of Keshavananda. Keshavananda is running a mountain in Kerala. His land was taken away. And then he goes to Supreme Court. Several other people go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court examines whether Parliament can amend the fundamental right, whether Parliament can amend the Constitution. If so, it can amend the fundamental right, and to what extent. Now Supreme Court says Parliament can amend the Constitution, can amend the fundamental right, but it cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. Now we are having 50th year of this judgment. What is the significance of this judgment? 50 years, 13 judges in 1970. There were only 13 judges. All the 13 judges are there, and this is a majority view. And what is this basic structure? That the Supreme Court talks, that the Constitution talks about basic structure. It is not what the Constitution is, it's what the judges say. And the judges in that 13 judges bench had very clearly said, what we mean by basic structure is Justice Sikri, supremacy of the Constitution, Republican and democratic form of government, secular character of the Constitution, separation of powers, federal capital. Every judge gives what is. Now, important issue today that Kesavananda Bharati judgment, for whatever reason it came about, that the judges have put a rider that you cannot alter the basic structure of this Constitution. Basic structure includes the preamble to the Constitution. Preamble talks about it's a secular country. They also specifically say secular character of this country cannot be changed. Now, therefore, the first weapon in the hands of a citizen, in the hands of an informed society, is the Constitution. And therefore, the first question that you say, that whoever you want to elect, you should get a assurance that I will not take care of this Constitution. I will not alter this Constitution. Because it's very dangerous in their hands that the Constitution can be played in any way they want. Therefore, the basic constitutional defense that we have a basic structure of the Constitution, which includes secularism. Now, secularism, in fact, there is one governor in Tamil Nadu who says there is no meaning of secularism in our Constitution. Everything is not written in the Constitution. Constitution does not talk about some dictionary attached to it. You will have to find out what the judges say. In Mumbai case, the Supreme Court said Constitution means all religions will be treated equally in this country. That's what secularism is all. The state shall not take sides. But then we find there is a greater attack on this issue, on the issue of secularism. Today, when the people talk about secularism, there is another voice which heard that it is a majoritarian faith. You agree or not agree? In fact, I remember last year there was a convention in Kasi, in Pragyaraj. Some Hindu sadhus, they can do some spiritual work, but then they discuss constitution. They rewrote the constitution, and that is constitution is called Hindu constitution. And then what does it say? Hindus alone can live in this country. Christians and Muslims cannot vote in this country. They can do business, they can live here as a secondary citizen, but they can never vote. They have also passed a resolution. We will work to bring this constitution. This voice is not heard from few sadhus. This is a voice which has been heard all over India, in several parts of India. Not only among the uninformed, even the most informed, even the lawyers, even the judges, they start talking about we need a new constitution. As if this constitution has become unworkable. Now this voice is a direct reply to the case of Ahmedabad case, which says that you can amend the constitution but not the basic structure. And basic structure includes secularism of this country, democratic form of this country. There can't be a voice which heard one nation, one leader, and then everything is one only, one language, and then tomorrow one food also, which fortunately they are not able to do, but then that slogan is slowly picking up. And you saw there is an act passed hurriedly in this country that the district collector will decide whether you must cut mutton or beef or anything like that. These are not something which we are going to a different direction. Now, if you want to tie this action of going on a different direction, you must become first voice to rise that we will defend this constitution. I tell this to every audience in this country that if at all we have one weapon, that's the Constitution of India. And that Constitution will not defend it. It is certain to have that minorities will become secondary people in this country and the majority in faith will be the ruling class. That is what certain groups are aiming at. And judges, where do they go? Where do these judges go into this? They are not in a different direction. We still feel that the judiciary will stand up for our rights. We still feel. At times, they also show their mettle. But beyond that, if you see the High Court, the subordinate court, there are so many deviant behaviors have started coming. I will only give you two examples. First example, there was a Christian priest in Kanyakumari. He told in a meeting among his four followers that my grandfather was a Hindu, but then he doesn't want us to be Hindus. Therefore, we became Christians, and now standing before you proudly that I am not a Hindu. This is only a statement made. Now, a criminal case is filed that you are trying to create differences between two communities. So you come to the High Court, and then it goes to a particular judge who has his own ideas on many issues, and then they argue, the lawyers who argue for Judge Panaya, it's a report, it's a judgment anybody can see in Google. Actually, most of you should see. The lawyers who argue cited Dr. Ambedkar. Ambedkar in his Disha Bhumi address in 1956 said, I was born as a Hindu, I will not die as one. This is a statement made. So they said, I am not saying anything new, even Dr. Ambedkar said. The first law minister, the chairman of the drafting committee, and then the judge says, he might have said all this, it is not open to you to say it, therefore petition dismissed. Now how do you evaluate this judgment? There are people who are much more tolerant citizens of the country as said this. Besides that, there is also a right of freedom of expression guaranteed under the Common Right. There is nothing like that. But there are judges who are destined to say that this is what we do. This can be seen in several spheres of life. A judge in Gujarat, there was a woman who got pregnant. They want to have abortion because she's a 17-year-old girl. And the judge says, Manusastra shows that child marriages were there even earlier. Children got married at the age of 12 and 13 and got conceived. Go read Manusastra. Is he reading Constitution or Manusastra? The most important issue will understand. It is everywhere the same issue. It's not something new. Another judge speaks in a RSS Lions meeting. We need Bharatiya jurisprudence. As long as the population ratio in this country continues, India will accept this constitution. The moment ratio, there is a reverse ratio, then this constitution should go. But all these judges have taken oath under this constitution. If he doesn't like this constitution, he must resign and go. Not sit there and pontificate. Now he says, this constitution will not survive if the ratio gets differences. He also writes in his judgment. Most important thing is, he writes a long passage that we are seeing a new situation where demographic change has taken place, and therefore this constitution may not survive. This is one issue. They keep on saying this kind of issues that have been there. This is one aspect. Even on the question of freedom of expression. If you tomorrow say, everybody says, Inqilab Zindabad, revolution, long live revolution. And then a Delhi High Court says it is not a mere statement, it's not platitudes, and such people should be put inside. A student who demonstrated, shouted in Inqilab Zindabad, Lal Salam, and then they were denied bail to him, little knowing that the slogan has been there for so many years. In fact, I wrote an article on this issue. I said, you go to city central station, what does it say? Kranti Sankoli Raya Central Station. What is it, Kranti? You come to Madras, revolutionary leader MGR Central Station. Well, what is the revolution they have all achieved? Everybody now says revolution, revolution. And then a slogan is taken exception. In fact, the judges write in their judgment, in fact, that Umar Khalid judgment, where Supreme Court, Delhi High Court, a division will say, it is not a case of Robespierre bringing revolution and then putting all the monarchy into guillotine, and therefore it is equal to that. Therefore, even to shout a slogan, even to raise a voice today is a dangerous thing. That is why you find 15 people are now in the incarceration. Some of them got bail, but many of them are not got bail. Today, every situation that you turn around, you will find there has been a danger even to a freedom of expression, even to a statement that you innocently make in this country. Now, revolution is a very ordinary word. Everybody doesn't say, when Jayaprakash Narayan said total revolution, he meant something. It's only a certain amount of cliché, so beyond that. But then the judges are taking it very seriously. What's more important issue is that from these people, we are now thinking that the Indian Constitution will be safeguarded. Therefore, when you fight with the Indian Constitution, we are also come to a stage where we will have to tell the judge, this is all the Constitution, not something that you are thinking about. This Constitution has to work this country as a single unity. This Constitution will provide a unity in diversity. And this Constitution cannot be touched by anybody just because they come to seek for votes for once in 5 years. And that is why I began by saying that the Karnataka people correctly answered this question. You want to make it as an all India answer, it should be, the answer should be found in 2024 all India election. And that is how the role of citizen can be established country. We don't have arms, we don't have power, we don't have any wealth, but we have one thing, that is vote. And that vote guaranteed by this Constitution will not only replace the existing setup, but will also defend this Constitution at all costs. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Lots to think about, but not just think, but act. We're talking about active citizenry, if you remember. It just got reinforced again. We got about 9 months to get our act together. So, little bit of time. So look around you, look at where you can get people going. We all have maybe jobs to do, but we have to work, even as citizens. Right. Let's move on. I'd like to introduce Dr. Bernard Dasami, the chairperson for this evening. Dr. Sami is a combination of an academician, a media commentator, and writer. He has served as an associate professor in history and is the former head of the Department of History at Loyola College, Chennai. He held several administrative positions in the college from 1998 to 2021. Currently, he is a senior fellow at the Loyola Institute of Social Science, Training and Research at Loyola College, Chennai. His media commentary touches on political and international news, and he writes regularly for academic journals and magazines. Between 2011 and 2021, he was guest faculty at IIT Madras. Adding to a significant list of PhD scholars, Dr. Bernard Dasami continues to guide PhD scholars till today. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Sami. Can I just say that there are slips of paper somewhere? Please write your questions down on those slips of paper. Some of you can maybe speak, but it would be good to keep them on pieces of paper, so once Dr. Dasami is done, we will take your questions. Thank you.
Good evening, and I consider it as a privilege to be here this evening to participate in the Diamond Jubilee celebrations of ISI Bangalore. I'll also add my voice in paying my tribute to Father Henry Volken, whom I haven't seen, and Father Stan Sami, by the history narrated given by Father Selva. Looks like Father Stan was the second founder of ISI Bangalore. I remember the days when we used to come here for the social analysis classes conducted by Father Stan. He only gave us a good foundation for all of us to look at the society critically. So that way, extremely happy and extremely pleased to be with all of you this evening. Friends, speaking after Dr. Justice Chandru is difficult, and particularly speaking, after, his presentation on civil society as well as vibrant political democracy, I am asked to respond. I will try, that is what I can say. And two key words, civil society and political democracy, vibrant political democracy. All of us know that this country, from the days of independence, even before independence, there were many groups that were working for the independence, but most of them were, they were stopped working after independence. But by 1950-60, in the 60s, this country witnessed the mushrooming of the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, and the CSOs. So that's the time, the whole community development organizations that was launched on October 2nd, 1952. Like there were many organizations working in the development field. But by 1970s and 80s, there was a doubt whether it's possible to govern ourselves successfully. There are many challenges. We got our independence and we thought that we will do well, but we are not doing well. Our progress shows that we are faltering. and should we go for some revisiting, re-examination? So that only gave rise to many of the civil society organizations. Professor T.K. Woman, who headed the sociology department in Jawaharlal University for a long time, and an authority on social movements and on CSOs, civil society organizations. He says that the difference between the Western countries and India, in Western countries it was state, market and civil society. In the case of India, state, civil society and then the market. Because the market had come only in the 1990 with the easing up of our economy, the market emerged as a very big factor. So in that way one can see today the various kinds of social movements and organizations and people's movement. I don't want to go into its history, but there are many. But if you want to club them together, or if you want to put them together and ask me to put it in a nutshell, I would say that there are Congos, there are Gongos, and there are Bingos. The Congos are the Confederation of NGOs, or the Conference of NGOs, that started in the 70s, 80s. The organizations that provided the last mile connectivity to the people. In one of the meetings before his death, Rajiv Gandhi said, we need NGOs. They are the ones who are providing the last mile connectivity to the people. It is they who take the programs to the people, to the least and last. It is they. He recognized it in one of his addresses before his death. So the Conference of NGOs brings all the NGOs, small, big, people's movement, all of them together. At the same time, after the Durban conference, we also witnessed in our country, Gongos, government NGOs, government-sponsored, government-initiated. There are many groups that are working today. They are also seeking UN status and many other positions in different levels. So if you go to any meetings, you will also find with the NGOs, the Gongos, the government-initiated, government-supported, government-funded NGOs. And the third one, all of us know that today, it is not constitutional mandate, but the business houses, corporate sector has been asked to give 2% for the CSR, right? Corporate social responsibility. I remember a meeting in my college, academic council meeting, where we present new papers and get the approval of the academic council. So the Commerce Department wanted to introduce a paper, and they said we are introducing corporate social responsibility. Fine. Commerce Department introducing a paper on corporate social responsibility. Okay. In the same meeting, Sociology Department also wanted, we are offering a paper on corporate social responsibility. Then I said, the Commerce Department can offer a paper on corporate social responsibility, because they study that. Sociology Department should offer a paper on corporate social irresponsibility, not corporate social responsibility. I said this, and then later I met a professor in one of the meetings in CDS, Center for Development Studies, Chandru. We were together for a meeting, and he was coming from IIM, Indian Institute of Management. And I was talking to him, I was asking, as he was coming from IIM, I was very keen to know whether the students doing MBA or given, other side of the society and all that. And then he said, sir, we are offering a paper that is known as Corporate Social Irresponsibility. We have 10 case studies. This is what our students examine, right? Bingos, business initiated NGOs, right? Business initiated NGOs. So we have all the, three, and today the challenge for the civil society, as Dr. T.K. Woman writes, the very well, clearly that in India, corporate social, the NGOs, the social movements, NGOs and civil society organizations are facing the challenge both from the state and from the business. This is what he clearly sees. Having said that, I thought that I will dwell a bit on, political democracy, about which Justice Chandru spoke a lot. I have absolutely, no problem. And if you read writings of Ashutosh Varshni and others who are writing a lot, he calls, the Indian, in one of his articles, he uses the term improbable democracy, right? And then also uses term, not he, but others are also using terms like low intensity democracy, right? So we have many things like that, and then Nehru very clearly indicated when we received our independence that democracy doesn't mean one person and one vote, a rotation of government. He made it very clear that if political democracy is not going to be accompanied by social and economic democracy, political democracy is a waste, right? So we have social and economic, in this country we have failed to realize the social and economic democracy. That is the reason why the political democracy and the intensity of the political democracy is going down, and all of us are aware of that. Political democracy in India is a very, is an experiment. One of the reasons why I think we have an edge over China is on this political democracy. In China, it is 60-70% Hans who are dominating the society everywhere. Decisions are taken by them, imposed on them, right? Even now, very difficult for them to handle the minorities, in many places in China. And, professors like Volken-Stan and others from CPAD, JNU, they would say that in US, when they were attempting to create a republic, they created a republic, but that is not a nation state, it is a state nation. It is 13 colonies which created a federation. So he would say that it's a state federation, it is not, it is not a nation state. The same thing when it applied to a country like India, it is a multinational state. In a multinational state to talk about democracy is difficult. But our experiment is one of, for the last 70 years on this. And I think, this is one area where more attention is needed and more, work has to be done, as Justice Chandru pointed out that how the Constitution and other things has been questioned for a very long time. Now at the final level, I thought that I will bring in the civil society, what I described to you, placed before you, and in the political democracy and the challenges with it. And then let's look at what Justice Chandru gave us today, the basic structure of the Constitution, where the challenges to make it simpler and to make it direct, the challenges for the civil society today, as he rightly pointed out, as the basic structure of the Constitution, which in political science we call it as a new term, constitutionalism. Constitutionalism. In Rameshwar case versus Union of India, the Supreme Court very clearly, it said that we abhor, the Supreme Court abhors, right, it very clearly says, we abhor absolutism. Absolutism. Absolutism is what is being taking place, and this is where constitutionalism comes in. Constitutionalism is adhering to certain principles. Right? You may have a constitution, but that constitution has been violated time and again. And many a times it is being, it is under attack. And this is where some of the principles that Justice Chandru has mentioned, it becomes, the basic, what he mentioned as basic structure, as the principles of constitutionalism. Number one, rule of law. Patanjali Shastri, in the first constitutional amendment case itself, he said that we did not want to create a rule by human persons. However good a human person may be, she is a weak. Subjectivity would come in. We wanted to create a rule of law. Lex supremus. Law is supreme. Right? So that is what we wanted to create. So, a rule of law as the basic principle, and that has to be, the civil society should demand from the government. This principle is adhered at the national, at the state, at the local, and in the everyday lives of the people. In the same way, the other principles that are, pointed out very clearly as the basic structure, it tells us that popular sovereignty. I'm sure that as political science, some of you with the political science background, you would have studied how the sovereignty rested with the monarchs, how the sovereignty rested transferred to other rulers. And then with the French Revolution, all of us know that sovereignty lies with the people. Who is sovereign? People are sovereign. So the sovereignty of, the political sovereignty is so important that power to rule comes from people. Our rulers should remember all the time. I think the civil society should make it very clear, as Madam Tarara also said in the coming elections, that your power to rule comes from people. People are sovereign. And in a big and the largest democracy like ours, this makes a lot of sense. And I think this popular sovereignty is one. Another thing which Justice Chandru mentioned to us, that the judiciary is under attack. And many a times the independence of the judiciary is undermined. Independence of the judiciary is, particularly with the appointment of judges and the type of, judgments that are coming in. And he mentioned some of them. Right? So I think, the independence of judiciary is another principle that the civil society should demand and start working on that. Individual rights. And there is something called R2P. In 2005, after the, Rwanda and Bosnia-Herzegovina killings, the international community was so agitated, the international community was so shocked. They met in the United Nations, 1999 onwards. Kofi Annan and others, they played a major role. In 2005, in the international, it was a summit. All the heads of the states, they attended. They accepted a document called R2P, Responsibility to Protect. Sovereignty doesn't mean a privilege or a prerogative. Sovereignty means responsibility. Your responsibility to protect. A state has to protect. In the context of Manipur, one needs to read R2P, because R2P has come up in the context of genocide, war crimes. A country cannot be a spectator when the blood is running like a water. If you are not going to do, somebody else should come to your rescue. That is what R2P is all about. The two major principles of the responsibility to protect is that. So, demanding responsibility to protect. A state's main responsibility, major responsibility, primary responsibility is to protect its citizens. And that is what one needs to I think demand in the days to come, particularly in the context of general elections in 2024. I think these are the things I thought that I will make as a response to Justice Chandru. He is an ocean and he has given a lot, but I thought that basically to briefly tell you about the civil society, political democracy and its challenges, constitutionalism, the principles, and these are the principles I think on which the civil society, if it can work in the days to come, then we can make Indian democracy a vibrant democracy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Kindly pass on the questions to the stage so that Justice Chandru can respond to them. Yes.
The first question is, as we are talking about role of civil society in a vibrant political democracy, how to ensure that civil society are truly performing without any political bias or interest. Very simple, that the civil society has to work, it has to have certain rules of game. Once you agree to the rules of game, you can't deviate. You can't take a stand different from the stand you took earlier. Therefore, in fact, my endeavor was that if you accept the Constitution, that becomes the basic rule under which anybody can play, and there won't be any necessity for a political bias or any interest. I belong to Kuki community in Manipur. I would like to know that in what way peace can be restored in Manipur. Is there a possibility of granting separate administration or UT territory for Kukis? Now this is only a political solution that we are talking about. Ultimately, the central government, the union government, which administers the entire India as one single political entity, they must now involve a question of a peace between the two warring groups and also to find a solution. Now solution can be different solution, but what is important today, in fact, yesterday in Tamil Nadu, one rightist thinker was arrested, one so-called intellectual. He said, if the Chief Justice of India, Chandru, is given a rifle, will he won't solve the problem? Why is it the court is intervening? Now their question is the court should not intervene. In fact, Chief Justice of India was heard saying that if the government does not take action, then we will have to start doing something. This is what he has said. What he said was, if rule of law is not followed, we may have to call them to answer the question. Now this itself, some people could not digest these things. Now most important today issue is not the fight between Métis and the Kukis. The important issue is that the news that has been now gathered, that the Métis are being armed by the state itself. The Métis have been instigated to fight against the Kukis. Now that is the most dangerous. When the state gets involved in this fight, then it is not a very happy state of affairs. Therefore, when you say you give a separate territory, that's not going to solve the problem. There are territories are given to several people. Nagaland is having a separate state. Last month, the army shot 14 people to death. Now, the police investigated, asked for prosecution. Central government has refused the sanction for prosecution, which means what is the role of the central government? If army shoots down innocent people and there is no proper inquiry, It's a criminal system which has to be put in force. Now the criminal system is stalled by not granting sanction. Now therefore, what is important today is our unity in diversity. If somebody believes in that concept, these things will never happen. If somebody tries to impose a new order, an order where there will be only one nation and one leader and one government and everything is one only, that is a dangerous situation. Unless we believe in the constitutional value, there is no solution whether cookies or mayonnaise. You can't, a group of young judges study and represent against the black laws. See, for example, in Mahatma Gandhi in 1990, he said these are all the black laws. 3 laws are identified. Criminal Law Amendment Act 1908, Criminal Law Amendment Act 2, 1908, Prevention of Seditious Meeting Act 1911. He said unless these laws are repealed, we will not cooperate with the British government. He even did not exempt lawyers from going to court. He said you can't argue in terms of the British laws, therefore you should get out. So many lawyers have left the court. Now, British government appointed a judge, Rowlatt, to study whether these laws are required or not. Now the Rowlatt found these laws are required because they want the colonial rule to be strengthened. Now these 3 laws are known as Rowlatt laws. There is nothing like a Rowlatt law. The Justice Rowlatt upheld these laws and therefore it's a Rowlatt law. Now Gandhi started a fight that we will not cooperate with this government unless these laws are removed. Similarly, we know what is a black law. It doesn't mean any study should be there. When TADA was introduced, Terrorist and Destructive Activities Act, there was a big campaign. A state like Gujarat had 17,000 cases against people, which means political opponents, trade union leaders were all put under TADA. Because it's the most draconian law, easy for the police to put people inside. Now TADA went, then POTA came, Prevention of Terrorism Act. For 4 years, it had its own field day. Now everybody opposed, saying this should be changed. Now it was also withdrawn. But quietly, the 1967 Unlawful Activities Prevention Act has been amended. More draconian provisions have been introduced. Now there is no bail, there is no time limit for charge sheet, and then now they have amended. There was new judgment by the Supreme Court in Anup Boyan case. Supreme Court said, a support to a terrorist organization by word or by action itself is a terrorism. No. Therefore, the act has been amended so drastically, it's difficult for anybody to even defend themselves. And today's paper shows to establish prima facie innocence, it took 5 years for them to understand. Police can voice a case and then allow you to be in jail, and then you fight Bombay Special Court, then Division Bench Bombay, then Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court third bench. Now the third bench has now said there is no prima facie. How long to fight these cases? Therefore, today we know what is a black law, but the state needs a black law. If the people do not want those black laws, they will have to change the state. That's the only way. What is the indigenous model for vibrant political democracy? Indigenous model we can discuss on the whole day. Constitution itself has got several provisions where there could be indigenous model. For example, all the territories in India are not ruled in the same way. There has been distinction between state, between union territory, the tribal scheduled areas, then the scheduled territories, all that there has been change. It has been historically evolved. But then today the government does not want such autonomy. They want to change the situation. Therefore, the problem comes, you want to bring it under a single order, which is not possible. And that's the only way that we can find indigenous model. And indigenous models there are plenty. What is the difference between republic and democracy? It's a good question. Republic is what? Democracy, whatever you understood. Republic is that it is not monarchy, therefore it's a republic. Democracy is a rule by the people. Therefore, we are having non-monarchical rule by the people, like British government. Today there is a queen It's it's a different form of democracy. We are not saying Britain is not a democracy. It's a democracy. There was a time king had all the powers. Then the king was forced to share his power. That is the Chartist movement. The Magna Carta was evolved where the king shared all his powers and the judicial power was given to a different body. And so when we say republic, it's mean only it's not monarchy. When we say democracy, it means it's a government run by the people through their representatives. Will the unions, will a common civil code come into existence? If it comes, then what are the consequences, especially for reserved category? It will take some time for government to push that idea. Now only they realize that it is not all that easy. The previous law commission said no. Supreme Court has said 2 times no. I will give you an example how it is not possible. When the Hindu code was discussed by Dr. Ambedkar in 1950s, a code was made ready. We bring all the issues related to religion, marriage, property, succession, all that a single code was prepared. When that was introduced in the parliament, there was opposition from the Congress itself. Dr. Ajay Prasad, who was the president of India, refused to give assent, though it was passed by the Congress party. Then a lot of lobbying took place and Nehru put his foot down, and finally it was agreed, instead of bringing single code, they will bring 4 different pieces of legislation. Now 4 pieces of legislation has come. Hindu Marriage Act. Hindu Marriage Act bans consanguine marriage between lineal relatives. There is a ban order. 3G, prohibited related relations. Now if you come to Tamil Nadu, if you come to Andhra Pradesh, you marry your own sister's son, your own sister's daughter. That is not possible under the law. Now how it is got over? It's a customary rights are all preserved. If there is a custom that we preserve. Now when they talk of uniform civil code came, there are some BJP leaders who are from the eastern side. They are saying you must give exemption to tribal areas. If you give exemption, then there is a uniform civil code. Therefore, it is impossible to push a single code for the whole India with a diverse population, diverse beliefs, and diverse language, and diverse activities also. It is not at all possible. But this slogan is now brought in because elections are coming. You want to divide the people. You want to divide the people in different factions and then say, vote for common civil code. Now you ask any BJP leader, what is common civil code? I am asking you one question. Many people think Muslims have got 4 wives. Therefore, how is it possible? Monogamy. In 1956, for Hindus, monogamy is the rule. You can't have a second wife. Now sitting in court, I was sitting in the original side, we will hear succession application. Today, most of the succession application, 99%, filed by the Hindus. Who is filing? 3rd wife, 4th wife, 2nd wife. And where is monogamy? Therefore, I wrote yesterday in one newspaper. It is easy to talk about code. It is easy to bring law. How to enforce the law in public? If the Hindus can have 3 wives without the law being there, what do you understand from that? 2 things we understand. That whatever you law, society goes in a different direction. You cannot control the society. You take a small example. Caste discrimination. We have got enough laws in this country. Article 17 abolishes untouchability. 1955 Protection of Civil Rights Act abolishes untouchability. 1989 SC/ST Prevention of Atrocity Act abolishes untouchability. All forms of caste discrimination. Now in this country, every day there is a caste discrimination. The National SC Commission files every year report in the Parliament, having hundreds of atrocities against Dalits and Adivasis. Now how do you explain this? Last month, California Assembly passed a law against caste discrimination, BL 403. 2 months before, Seattle Assembly passed it. Now who is opposing this? The NRIs are opposing. The American Hindu Foundation, the biggest NRI group in America, opposing this. They call this as a Hindu phobia. Why? Because the laws will be protected. You will be punished. The same people will not oppose here because the law will not do anything. Law will take the other side. People will be on the other side. So therefore the enforceability, most important thing in our country, you can make underworld law. Tomorrow you can declare this is a uniform service. Will it be observed? Now you take the case of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. They are marrying uncle's daughter, then aunt's daughter, uncle's son, and sister's son. Everything is allowed. Then where is the law in this country? That is a major important issue. Even today in Karnataka, among the Veera sect, customary divorce is allowed. You need not go to court. Court recognizes customary divorce. Therefore, even within the law today, there have been 101 exceptions. Then where is the scope for common law? Idea is to create awareness where people have certain more advanced form of understanding their life. That's the only way. That's the only thing that is possible. Manipur issue, as you told, is not a mere politics, it's a future India. So we are the victims. How and what is the way to overcome? This is something which the government is failing to talk. Our Prime Minister is missing for the last 2 months, not even opening his mouth, going all over India, world, but not in Manipur. Now this issue is being discussed in Parliament. Last 3 years Parliament is not able to transact any business, and therefore the issue has come to the fore. But the discussion has to be allowed on a nationwide basis and find out a correct slogan that we can always come up with a solution. There is no problem which cannot find a solution. America and Vietnam had a big war. Finally, there was an agreement in Paris. It's not, no problem in the world is not having solution. Solution is you must have an open mind. You should not be the author of this trouble itself. Today the problem is there is a state intervention in this whole issue. There are evidence so state is taking side. The state do not take side, they can always find a solution. And military solution is not a problem. Is not the solution. In context where ruling government is clearly violation of a responsibility to protect, what are the options to censure the government or to remove it? No confidence motion fails due to numbers. You must understand, when opposition parties gave a no confidence vote, not that they are going to pass it. No confidence motion is a method by which you can bring a discussion to public. That's all. They can't avoid a discussion. When you give a no confidence motion, it is taken in, anybody will be allowed to speak. Therefore, it is a method to publicly censure the government. Not that they will defeat the government by a no confidence. It is only a parliamentary tactics. But what is most important is the no confidence motion which the Karnataka people have shown in the last election. The same no confidence motion should come in the parliament. That's the only sure way of removing this government. What is the experience is not just about political party. Even a particular party is removed from power, the damage happened, our democratic ethos will disappear overnight. How can we rebuild? One thing is we have accepted a political democracy. There are many shortfalls, there are many deficiencies. The idea is not to deny politics or a political democracy. The idea is how to make it more vibrant, more meaningful. And therefore let us not say that politics is always bad, and always they say art of the impossible. That's what they say. That's not correct. The last place where people surrender, that's not. All this, for a wrong politics or a bad politics, the right politics is the correct answer. How do you define who is majority? Where we said majority in India, themselves divided by caste. So the majoritarian notion is created in a superstructure, not in terms of quantity, in terms of the mind. That you are able to make to think that we are one. They are not one. We are divided by 101 subcastes, major castes. Every caste system has got a hierarchy. All that has been there built into over years. But still you are made to think Hindutva slogan. Hindutva does not mean caste. Hindutva does not mean religion. This is a slogan. If people fall for the slogan, definitely they can create certain ideas. This is what the Hitler did. This is what our present government is doing. Thank you. Thank you.
So I think we went a whole round around constitution, judiciary, executive, legislature, everything. But never forget, we are the ones who stand in the center. That has come up time and again. When you go out of this room today, just think about who you're going to be for the next 10 months. What is the kind of citizen you want to be? And how are you going to influence the people around to be the citizen they need to be? These are very, very difficult times. Our democracy is being tested. Our various key institutions are being tested. But we as people are going to stand the test of time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the people. Thank you, Dr.
Somebody gave a last question. There is one question which came just now. It's about the role of the president in these matters. You may think that president is belong to a tribal sect, therefore she will intervene. They may suffer in silence, but under the constitutional scheme, after the 42nd Amendment, president shall be bound by the advice by the Council of Ministers, headed by a Prime Minister. Therefore, what Modi says, she has to obey. She could not even come to a inauguration of a hospital in Tamil Nadu because the government said don't go to DMK government. Therefore, she did not come. And she is going to Orissa for a High Court function, she is going. She may be allowed to move about as if there is a showcase president is there. Otherwise, under the constitutional scheme, president does not have any power. President is only a dummy. President has to obey. Under Article 74, the word used is, the president shall act under the advice of the Council of Ministers. This amendment came in 42nd and president has no role. Even earlier there are some presidents, they thought they may take a different view. They have no view. They are honorary head of the supreme forces of all the three forces. They are honorary head of the republic and they will come for 5 years and go away. That's the only thing. In India, the real power rests with the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tanarao, for very efficiently moderating the entire event. Your recap of their speeches, adding your ideas have really enriched us. Thank you once again. I now invite Father Dr. Selvin Raj, Head of the Labour Migration Department, to propose the vote of thanks.
Dear friends and well-wishers of Indian Social Institute, Bangalore, with a profound gratitude to God and to all those who are present here for this, for the Volken and for the Stan Swami Memorial Lecture, I stand before you to propose the vote of thanks. We all acknowledge the gracious presence of Father Stanley D'Souza, the President of the Conference of South Asia. Thank you for your support and guidance, dear Father Stanley. We live in a world of complexity because the structures we have created for ourselves very often do not help us to live in freedom with human dignity and respect. At times we are confused and find no proper direction to move forward. Yet, there are a few who make a difference in their life with their commitment and dedication amidst fear, anxiety, and uncertainties. One such person in the world, particularly in India, we recognize is Honorable Justice Chandru. You always remain as a beacon of hope for the humanity. On behalf of all those who are present here and those participants attending to the lecture through online mode, I extend my greetings and gratitude to Honorable Justice Chandru for making this event a significant one in the long 60 years history of Indian Social Institute. Thank you, Your Honor, for being with us. Professor Bernard Swami, a good friend of Jesuits, closely associated with Loyola College, Chennai, is ever ready to assist us in all our endeavors. Your analytical outlook and constructive criticism has made the audience to think and feel beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone. Thank you for having accepted our invitation to come over to Bangalore to be with us on this day, to respond to the talk delivered by Honorable Justice Chandru. Thank you, dear Professor Bernard Swami. The voice of the civil society in Karnataka state is slowly and steadily becoming the voice of the civil society all over the country. Miss Tara, your name fits well in the celestial world shining in the sky. Yet your claiming call to the civil society is very vocal and visible on this earth. By mentoring and taking up a leading role in Edelu, Karnataka, you are uniting all people of goodwill who are seriously concerned about our country. We profoundly thank you, ma'am, for being with us and efficiently moderating this lecture given by Honorable Justice Chandru in memory of Father Volken and Father Stan Swami. Thank you, ma'am. We do thank all the participants of this event. Fathers, sisters, friends, ladies and gentlemen, you are our well-wishers of ISI. Thank you for gracing this occasion by your presence. Thank you all. Finally, thank you, my own ISI family. Once again, strengthens the bond of our unity and togetherness in every programs and events. We shall thank each other, the academic, administrative, and supporting staff for our teamwork. We have done it. We will continue to work together, and let us thank each other. Before 1947, we were dependent. After 1947, we became independent. Now is the time we need to realize more and more that we are interdependent. As the members of the civil society and citizens of India, we shall resolve to play our rightful role to make our democracy vibrant and active. Thank you all. May I invite all of you to stand up for the national anthem. Jai Hind.
I call upon all the ISI family, staff, all the Jesuits and the staff to come for a photo session with our dignitaries. ISI staff, please come on days for a photo